Right, so welcome to Thursday. Welcome to the newspaper review segment here on Pan-African Television. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. As always, I'm excited every morning because I get the opportunity to spend my mornings with you. Today, I have been joined in the studios by Miss Ellen Derko, who is a national women's organizer, hopeful for the MPP. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I trust you are well.
I'm good.
This table that you want to shake, you are shaking tables. You want to take positions for people.
It's a democracy. And just like why we say it in a can parlance, when the seat or the royal seat is empty, every royal has a right to also, yes, to also. And so by next year, July, hopefully, the seats for the National Women's Organizer would be empty. And as a royal of the NPP, I have a right to also contest. And so I'm just asserting that's right.
Okay.
Nothing strange, which is done all the time.
Fantastic. Dr. Rashid Popo is also here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And Mr. Pratt, good morning. Dr. Rash, you've been missing in action. Why?
Yes, I've been traveling up and down and going to my constituency, and that's it. And that occupied me all the while.
I see. I see. Right, so these are the topics. Laurent Gbagbo urges African leaders to emulate Nkrumah, captured on the front page of the Insight newspaper. Gold prospecting in Volta and Uti regions to be revamped. Lands Minister, that's captured by the new Crusading Guide. NDPC assessment of SDGs, 2.3 million Ghanaians in danger, projected to live below poverty line by 2030. That's a Ghanaian Times story. NDC accepts 2022 budget. Daily Guide. These are the topics that we've tabled for our conversation this morning. Let me quickly start with Dr. Rashid Popo on the African story. Laurent Gbagbo urges African leaders to emulate Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah, thank you, Kwame, and good morning to Wa Central people. I know you are
still
happy.
Waiting for an invitation.
Yeah, you will go. We will go to Wa Central together. We just unfortunately buried my immediate former constituency chairman. So I'll pray for his for him to be seen or to be received in the Jannat of Firdaus. Anyway, we are listening to Laurent Gbagbo, and he is surviving a political turmoil. In the life of the man I just said, we lost him. He said politicians never die. You see them die the moment, the next moment you see them alive again. We all thought Laurent Gbagbo would have ended up in prison with a lost political, with a diminished or completely extinguished political life, but has risen again, making big pronouncements, and has made one of the most important pronouncements by an external African leader, and that pronouncement is so critical. Nkrumah has always been a person of respect, somebody who we should emulate, somebody who has sown a seed of development in Africa, has demonstrated high-level leadership, quality, understanding of the challenge we face in Africa. And for Laurent Gbagbo, coming from Côte d'Ivoire, if you know the history of Côte d'Ivoire and what the former president, used to view Nkrumah, he used to think that Nkrumah was wasting his time by trying to bring Africa together, and said that 50 years later, you can compare Ghana to Côte d'Ivoire, and you'll see the difference. Now you see somebody coming from Côte d'Ivoire making this statement, shows a lot of respect he has for Dr. Nkrumah. And being in Ghana, we need to take advantage of the quality of personality of Nkrumah, before others can emulate us or emulate him. He wanted African unity. He wanted a new African personality. He wanted to see development happen in Africa. He wanted real economic independence for Africa. And he talked about a standing army for Africa, economic unity and a standing army. So you don't have all these interferences in our lives and we still appearing to be as if we are colonial people. So that quality of thinking is supreme if we want to be a good leader in Africa. And I think Gbagbo's pronouncement is most welcome. And we should take it serious. Yeah.
Thank you. Ellen.
Oh, good morning once again.
Good morning.
Good morning to all our viewers, especially all the NPP women watching. I'll start my campaign when the time is due, but just a good morning to them. And also a special good morning to my loyal ladies, the NPP loyal ladies all over Ghana. Now we are talking about Laurent Gbagbo's president, because he's a former president.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I listened to bits and pieces of his interview, and one of the things I picked that shocked me, and maybe a lot of young people under 40 years, of which I'm one, we still don't know that the Francophone countries of Africa still pay things like rent to France. And I picked that from his interview, that the whole presidential palace of the Ivory Coast pays rent to France. I mean, how? my brain is not...
The use of their currency for it.
Yeah.
And when you're making a phone call, it means the call actually goes through France before it comes to Ivory Coast or Togo. How many years after independence? Yes, Ghana, we have issues. In fact, we have monumental issues. We are just talking about how my own prof, Jan Balfour, is saying in the Times that we are going to have 2.3 million Ghanaians in danger of poverty, living below the poverty line. So we have a lot of hurdles to jump. But I think we have done quite well for ourselves compared to our neighbors. Because if in this time and age, 2021, you actually pay rent on your own land to somebody sitting in France. I mean, and with all due respect, the Ivorians are happy with it. They are okay with it. As a people, are they comfortable with it? Don't they want change? I cannot speak for them because I'm Ghanaian. And all my life, I have been used to democracy. I was born after Rollins. So for some of us, it's been democracy, the right to talk as we want, the right to say what you want, how you want it. In fact, we fight our leaders for even telling us to tone down. But the use of our Francophone brothers, the countries, are they really okay? It's a question I'm just asking the young people. Do they want this to continue for another 100 years? Where you're sitting on your own cocoa and you cannot determine what you do with the money. At least we sell our cocoa and we can fight about how we want to share it. It is ours. But as for them, they don't even have a right to determine what they do with the money. Somebody sells it, France sells it, and then determines what to do with the money. Cocoa grown in Ivory Coast. Hey, they have a problem. So we have to thank God for people. Dr. Nkrumah is in a league of his own. Some years ago, I'm sure our parents didn't understand. I know a few weeks ago I was here and I blamed my parents' generation, including the two of you, for what has happened to Ghana. And my father called me. Somebody just sent me a message that you are blaming us. And I'm saying, yes, I blamed you. When you went to university, you went to University of Ghana, you were given ice cream. And you even went on strike for the ice cream. And when I went to university, we were patching. We're not even getting space. So if I'm blaming our parents' generation, I have every right to blame them. Because with what Dr. Nkrumah started, if we hadn't involved ourselves in all these useless coups, I'm sure we would have been very, very far. So I'm one of the people who do not, when I hear coup, then my stomach, because it is definitely not the right thing to go. Just look at what is happening with the Ivory Coast. I'm happy Mr. Gbagbo, after all he's gone through, and he cannot also claim to be innocent because he's also had a few issues in his country. After everything, he can sit down and make this statement. We are happy that we are Ghanaians and Nkrumah came from here. I think it is high time we learn more about our leaders. No matter the side of the divide we stand on, we are all helping to build Ghana. And I am yet to see a leader who came in with the evil intent to make Ghana go bad. I'm yet to see one. I think that we may have different ideologies. Of course, I am a full-blown baby elephant turning into mommy elephant. I believe in the MPP. But those who also believe in the ideology of the NDC and other parties, I believe we all want the good of Ghana. We might disagree on how we get there, but we'll get there. The Ivory Coast and Francophone brothers and sisters, I think we need to pray for them, encourage them, especially the young ones who are coming. They have to fight against the system. They have to fight for change, because even though they are independent, it's just superficial independence. How can you be paying rent to France? My brain is still going around it. Hopefully, they can get to where we are going. And hopefully, we will not come back. Because it will be a total disgrace and a total, how do I put it? We would have disappointed generations after us if we do not make Ghana work.
Thank you very kindly, Ellen. Mr. Pratt, please.
Well, about 100 years ago, the African agenda was set. And the African agenda then was to end discrimination against all Africans and people of African descent, the struggle against racism. That agenda began developing and reached the point where the unity of Africans everywhere was the key to the liberation of Africa from the clutches of poverty, underdevelopment, and exploitation. The first Pan-African Congress committed itself to the struggle to liberate Africa from colonial rule. The developments continued until 1945, when the 5th Pan-African Congress was held in Manchester. And it's significant to note the 5th Pan-African Congress was largely organized by Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. He was the pillar around which the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester was organized. And the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester was attended by all the leaders of Africa on the continent and in the diaspora. The final resolution of the 5th Pan-African Congress for me is the most important document for Africa, and every African needs to read the final resolution of the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester. Africans everywhere came together in Manchester, in the United Kingdom, and adopted a resolution which served as a program of action for African independence and unity under the banner of scientific socialism. I mean, clear message to the African people. The African people then meeting in Manchester decided that the capitalist option could not take us out of our bondage, colonial bondage, and so on. African people from all over Africa and in the diaspora meeting in Manchester decided that independence was not sufficient, and that beyond independence lay the task of unifying Africa, and so on. So these were the key ingredients of the African perspective for the future. Now, it is significant that after the 1945 Manchester Congress, Nkrumah personified the African dream. No leader anywhere in the world has personified the African dream like Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He was the icon of African liberation and so on. And there's no doubt that the independence of Ghana on March 6, 1957 became the catalyst for the independence of many African countries and so on. I mean, only last week, I was going through some documents which have been made available by the Angolans. The Angolans came to Ghana to research, to find out the kind of assistance they had from Ghana leading to their own independence. And it turned out that in the eastern region of Ghana, the Nkrumah government actually established a military base for training Angolan and other liberation fighters to go back home and fight. But you know the surprise? That camp was run by Ernesto Che Guevara of Cuba. And this has not been mentioned anywhere because nobody knew about it. Even the CIA didn't know that Ernesto Che Guevara was in Ghana training fighters to go back to their countries, you know, to fight for national liberation and so on. Now, when the Angolans came, they found out that the village, the camp, has been flooded by the Volta River. When we created the Volta River, it just, you know, so on. So they went interviewing the villagers and so on. The villagers said, yes, we remember. There was a bearded white man who used to go through here and so on. They didn't even know that it was Ernesto Che Guevara, you understand? But that is the story of our struggle against national independence and so on. Now, Nkrumah, as the personification of the African dream, the African aspiration and so on, saw independence as a means of one, creating the conditions which enable the African people to choose their own leaders. Because under colonialism, we didn't have a right to choose our own leaders. I mean, the governor was appointed by the Queen of England. Even at some point, district chief executives were appointed by the Queen of England. Now, when I was growing up, anytime you went to the doctor who looked after you, went to hospital, the doctor who looked after you was white-skinned. You went to school, your teachers were white. You went to church, your priest was white, and so on. So all of that contributed to the development of a complex of inferiority, and so on. Nkrumah wanted us to be able to choose our own leaders, and from our own selves, to have leaders who looked like us, to have postmasters who were not white, but who were like us, to have priests who were not white, but who were like us, to have district chief executives who were not white, who were like us, and so on. So that was part of the independence dream. The other part of the independence dream was for us to own our own resources, like the gold, like the diamond, like the timber, like the rivers, and so on, to own them, for African people to own their own resources, and to exploit those resources for their own benefit. You understand? That was a cardinal part of the dream. And then the dream of unifying Africa. Now, today, many people do not know that the dream of unifying Africa went a very, very long way. By February 24th, 1966, the unification of Africa had begun in earnest. Indeed, Ghana, Guinea, and Mali were one country. Ghana, Guinea, and Mali had formed a confederation known as the Ghana-Guinea-Mali Union. That was a major step towards the unification of Africa. Recent documents made available from the archives of Congo and so on also indicate that before the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected prime minister of the Congo, Congo had also signed an agreement to join the Union of African States. So by the time Nkrumah was overthrown, 4 countries had actually come together to form the Union of African States. Those who overthrew Nkrumah and their foreign backers and so on have done everything possible to dismantle that union which was set up, which was going to become the nucleus of the African Union and so on. Unfortunately, for them, the drive for the unification of Africa continues. And there have been many leaders on the continent who have championed that, including Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, and now Laurent Gbagbo of La Côte d'Ivoire. I mean, my brother, Honorable, Rashid Pelpo, made a very significant point. You know, after independence, Houphouët-Boigny, who became the president of La Côte d'Ivoire, was a citizen of France and a member of Parliament of France while still remaining as president of La Côte d'Ivoire. And the whole Western world set him up as the competition to Nkrumah. They wanted to use La Côte d'Ivoire to demonstrate that the path of capitalism could lead Africa to development, as opposed to Nkrumah's path of socialism and so on. Now today, many years after, the people of La Côte d'Ivoire and their leaders themselves are coming out to say that Nkrumah was right. What does that mean? The experiment of La Côte d'Ivoire did not succeed. And the Ghanaian experience could have succeeded and liberated us from the shackles of poverty, underdevelopment, and all of that. You understand? Now, for Gbagbo, he's living the dream. I mean, only last month, I was in La Côte d'Ivoire to participate in the inauguration of his new political party, the African People's Party. He's not forming a nationalist party. He's forming a continental political party, a party with a continental outlook. And when Gbagbo tells us that it is time for us to embrace the ideas of Nkrumah and so on, he knows what he's talking about. And my sister here has spoken about some of the things. Look, many people in Francophone Africa, and I don't know why we should even call them Francophone Africa, are experiencing extreme poverty and misery as a result of the new colonial arrangement they have with France. All of these countries keep their foreign reserves in the Central Bank of France. So they go to France, they borrow their own money, and they pay interest on their own money which they borrow from France. It's absolutely senseless. And we need to change this paradigm. Unfortunately, the emerging leaders who are advocating a change of this new paradigm are people like Laurent Gbagbo and so on. I did the interview with Laurent Gbagbo, and I was highly impressed, you know, by his vision for Africa, his vision for La Côte d'Ivoire, and his vision for the world, you know. One of the key things that he spoke about, you know, there's a certain anti-Chinese hysteria in the world, and I asked him about it. And Laurent Gbagbo says, I don't have a fight with China. I'm African. And then all of these countries are raising this hysteria about China and so on because they are losing the competition with China. And that we Africans ought to be able to deal with all the powers of the world and to get the best out of them and so on. I agree with Laurent that African leaders will begin to move us forward. You know, every free trade zone that we have established and so on. And I'm sitting back and saying, what is wrong with that? The evidence, down and down and down. We're producing less. If you take Ghana, 40 years ago, we're producing cars, we're producing matches, we're producing machetes, we're producing refrigerators, we're producing everything that we needed under the import substitution program. Kwame. Today, what do we produce for ourselves? We are importing handkerchiefs, we are importing toothpicks. The fabric you are wearing is imported and so on. So if you set up a...
But if I were buying it from the imported one, I bet you I'll pay about 1,000 cedis for one. This is what we should be looking at. Value addition to our gold. Dubai is known as the hub of gold or jewelry. We have Ghanaians, Ghanaian women, my own sisters, who get up, buy air ticket, go to Dubai, go and book hotel, and go and buy a gold chain. My brain, as for today, my brain is wrapping itself around a lot of things. I don't get it. When you walk into PMMC, you will get gold chain to buy. You go to any of these local jewelers, they'll do it for you. And the gold is made in Ghana. Dubai is surviving on gold from Ghana. Check it. All our gold, all the gold they use is gold from Ghana. And when Uncle Frat is talking about the unfair trade practices, the gold industry, the jewelry industry in Ghana is facing one of such. Can you imagine our gold gets there? When is this going? There's no problem. There's no mercury in it. But when we produce the jewelry, they will come and tell us that this jewelry have mercury in it. I mean, seriously. We are the highest producer of gold in Africa, or are we not? Why isn't Ghana the hub of the jewelry industry in West Africa or the whole of Africa. Our brothers and sisters from Nigeria will come through here and go to Dubai, go and buy gold, pass it through here and send it to Nigeria. I mean, how?
You're very right, eh?
And in over 50 years, we are now getting a gold refinery. I hear it is 90% done. I think, was it over this weekend, at the launch of the Otumfuo's commemorative coins. I think the minister was saying that it was 90% done.
There's actually one in Ghana.
But is it
at the airport?
Is it for us?
Well, yeah.
Is it for Ghana or is it for?
It's an Egyptian, but it's managed by Ghanaians. I mean, and it's here.
It is private. I'm talking about government.
Okay, government, right? Okay.
And the one state, the one PMMC is talking about, I believe is a private citizen. I think I don't know the shareholding, but at least we have a hand in it. And it is something that we have to look at. So when the minister is saying that we want to prospect for more gold, the whole of Ghana sits on gold. I mean, that's why we are called the Gold Coast. I came to meet my grandma, my mother's mother, and she told me that in those days, when it rained, they were picking gold and silver, gold and diamonds. As a man can say, you are going to fetch water, you pick it. So we are the Gold Coast. We can prospect all we want, which is good. I mean, gold brings development. But then we should look at it again. Obuasi, 100 years, 400 years. Johannesburg, also 400 years. When you take the aerial view, what have we got to show for all the gold that we have produced for the world? It's high time that the value addition issue, we take it serious. And we should start educating our own people. So for me, I have taken it as a personal project. I shall not wear any jewelry that is not made in Ghana. It is my personal project. Whether gold, which I hope I can afford. Now I can't afford gold, so I'm affording silver. Silver is very nice and it's very cheap. Made in Ghana silver. Beads, whatever, me, Ellen, I'll buy and wear made in Ghana. That is my personal decision. But we should talk to our people. Gold is also an investment. How sure are you that the Dubai gold, that it is not plated, it is actually pure gold? But when you walk to PMMC or any of the other gold, you are assured. And for me, as much as the minister will say this, and I hope it goes through, because the people of the Volta region, I know, apart from, and when you read the story, he said they've discovered, it's not just gold, there's jasper, there are diamonds, lithium, all in Ghana. Hey, have you seen why I say our parents' generation? I blame all of them in both parties. This generation has to take it beyond this. I know PMMC is gearing up. I hope they gear up and gear up well. So that, I mean, why can't we have a gold festival? We should have a gold village. We should have, but we keep on mining and we keep on mining. And for me, because I've worked in that sector before, I was a former board member for the MDF, Minerals Development Fund. I'm a proud first timer. I mean, the board was just set up in 2019. And I was one of the first board members. And in the whole of 2019, 2020, I traveled all over the mining areas. And my heart broke. Because I can imagine the roads, the water, and then you come to Galamsey. The harm we are doing to ourselves. This whole industry has to be looked again. For me, I believe the government has taken a bold step. But it is difficult. I think we have to move from the rhetoric of talking and getting our people to understand us. And let them understand that it is for all of us our good. Look at the central region, look at the water. It cleared up for a bit. It's gone back again. I think it was 2 weeks ago that I saw the chief of defense staff complaining that they went back to check and our people are back again on the water.
Anyway, thank you, Ellen. Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpo, please.
Well, thank you so much. I often grieve for Ghana. That is a country noted for the highest production of gold in the world, known all throughout the many years there was colonialism. People were attracted here mainly because of gold. And today, after all that, we have nothing to show. But because of our gold, we have developed a certain level of excellence in gold production, in the process of gold and what it has done to us. Sometimes I don't like people comparing us to Johannesburg and say, well, Johannesburg is the gold city in South Africa. Look at how Johannesburg is. It's not about the fact that there is gold there. It's about the fact that the people are conscious about what they want in life. They are determined, they work towards it, and they achieve what they want. Nice. So that is the definition of the people when you see Johannesburg. It's not the definition of gold. Nice. And so in Ghana, when you keep saying we are going to start mining here, look at your back and see where we had mined before. What did we achieve? And then yesterday I was I'm in the committee of energy, mines and energy. The commission you just talked about, Minerals Commission, were presenting their report. I mean their budget, and then one of the things they mentioned was that they said there's still no there's inadequate alliance of gold production and the economy. They still have not connection. The connection has not yet been firmed up. And I asked them, exactly what do you mean by that? You see, but that tells you the story of Ghana's production of gold. And that on and on, we still think about the person going to produce the gold and keeping the gold for himself. It is happening with international companies. They produce the gold, they sell the gold, they expatriate the profits, and leave the small royalties for Ghana, and we are very happy and satisfied with it. Then you have individual gold miners, galamsey, small-scale operators, who also go in, destroy the land, destroy the water, get something, sell it cheap to the expatriate, buy cars, and they are happy. Who suffers? The nation continues to suffer. I think that we need to define a policy, a clear policy on how we want to deal with our gold, a very clear policy on what we will do with the proceeds, a clear policy on what we are going to get out of it, what benefits we are going to get out of the gold production that happens in Ghana all throughout history and throughout our lives. Yeah. If we are unable to do that definition and get a clear direction in which we can move and achieve anything, the story is still going to be the same. It doesn't matter whether you find gold in Oti region, Volta region, Upper West region. From the minister, 13 regions out of the 16 regions have gold.
I'm sure they have other
and other materials, yeah, and other, you know, mineral resources. Very, very expensive resources. And yet 2.3 million Ghanaians are going to suffer, you know, below the poverty line. That might be an underestimation if you look at it all. You know, so what is our story? That we have so much and we have so little. That the land is rich and we are poor. That the mind of the African is below the standard where we can make use of what we have. That we don't have good leadership, and so we cannot help our people to produce what we have, what we need, and be able to feed ourselves. All of these things, if you pick any one of them and do a research on it, it will come as, you know, we predict. But we are more than what we perceive ourselves to be, except that we are unable to discover it. We are unable to recognize it. And I think that, like he's saying, in future, if the younger generation don't do something today, they will be your child or your grandchild who will sit here and say, I'm blaming my mother's generation because they didn't do well. Yeah, now we are being blamed. I blamed the elderly before. Today, I'm part of the elder society. They are blaming me. Now I'm saying that very soon, her children will blame her. And so the snowball effect of failure, inefficiency is going to continue. And that is the challenge I'm talking about. It's not the fact that we have gold or not have gold. It's the fact that we don't have what it takes to take advantage of what we have. It's not just gold. There's cocoa, there's cashew, there's shea nuts, or shea fruits, or shea butter. Everything is here. I mean, this is a land when you throw the seed, it generates. You don't need to do anything to it. This is the land when you go into the bush, you don't plant plantain and things like that. They grow and you harvest them. You clear the land and then they come out. It's a land of gold. It's a land of everything. And yet, the people are in queue, running to Europe every single day, dying in rivers and seas because they have to leave the country. Why? So, I think that we need to stand up and reassess who we are as a people. But thank God, the minister is making pronouncement about finding gold in, trying to revamp gold production in Oti and Volta. I just hope that, yeah, in the prospecting and reconnaissance, what I expect them to do is to set up clear example of what we want to do. And being the ranking member, I want to follow it up to see what we can do with it. What exactly is the minister thinking about? Is he just talking about it and leaving it to lie low, or he wants to have intentional national intrusion into what exactly will happen and bring a defining policy so that in the two regions where we are doing the revamping and getting the gold, we would handle it differently from where we had started and failed. Sometimes when I go to my own region and I travel to where the Galamsey people are mining, you grieve. You see, they are digging deep holes, they are seizing the land, they are taking areas where people were farming, and sometimes by force, and they are doing it there. Land is destroyed, gold is found, nothing is left in the community. That is also Ghana. When you see that poor community with nothing in it, but so much digging had happened, so much of their water is spoiled, and there's no single effect of the produce in that place, it is the definition of how we are in this country. So we need to sit up as a people.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Pratt, please.
Well, I mean, the story is that gold is available in all parts of Ghana. What the minister has announced is that an exercise has begun to confirm its availability in the Volta region and Oti regions in commercial quantities. You understand? So, strictly speaking, gold is available in all the 16 regions of Ghana. I'm quite sure that the study would establish that it is available in the Volta region and also the Oti region in commercial quantities. You see, normally we should be jubilating, normally if you're finding such valuable resources in your land. It's normally a cause for celebration. Unfortunately, given our history, we cannot celebrate. Right now, Ghana is the #1 producer of gold in Africa and #5 in the world. And yet, look at the conditions of the Ghanaian people. Horrible. In fact, if you go to the gold producing areas, you will tend to think that gold production has become a huge curse on the people of Ghana. And that is why we cannot celebrate. The Third World Network did a study in the Obuasi areas and established that food produced in the Obuasi areas, have more than 3 times the arsenic level that is permitted by the World Health Organization. That's a study by the Third World Network. All over Ghana, perhaps throughout the world, Obuasi was known for sweet oranges. I mean, eating oranges from Obuasi was a delicacy. I mean, so today, we cannot be too happy about the oranges which are produced in Obuasi because of the arsenic levels that you find in the oranges produced in Obuasi. That's a huge problem. Now, that is not all. The Bank of Ghana, as we speak, has signed what it calls the Foreign Exchange Retention Agreement with the mining companies, gold mining companies. And it allows the gold mining companies to keep 98% of the value of gold exported from this country abroad. Terrible. In fact, one particular year, Newmont went to Parliament and told Parliament that year it retained 100% of the value of gold it exported abroad. It retained that value abroad. Not 1% came back to Ghana. So the more we produce gold, the more we suffer. The dream of independence, which was to take control of our resources and to exploit these resources for our benefit, has not been realized in the gold sector. It must be a source for serious worry. You understand? So we are not even getting the value of gold we export back into the economy to stimulate other things which will generate employment and so on. We are also dying. We are being poisoned through the process of gold exploitation. Now, it was Yochihini who made a very remarkable statement. But there's been this argument about how much we are getting from gold exploitation and so on. And there were people who were arguing and saying that, oh, we don't have the expertise, we don't have the technology, and that is why we are getting so little. Yochihini came up and said, well, if you are not ready now, if you don't have the technology, if you don't have the expertise and so on, why dig it? Because gold doesn't rust. If you leave it there, it will be there forever. So if you are not ready to exploit, why exploit and get nothing out of it? And Yochihini actually went to the extent of saying that if we left the gold in the ground, perhaps we would not disturb, the ecosystems. And that beautiful butterflies will be around, flying around at least to give us some pleasure. And the devastation of our forests, of our environment and so on would stop. I think Yochihini was making a lot of sense then. And what he said is still sensible. My only problem is that our leaders don't listen. Our leaders don't listen to sense. They stopped thinking a long, long time ago. And that is why we are where we are today. There's a phenomenon today which is known as the race to the bottom. I don't know if you ever heard about the race to the bottom. And it is manifest in the gold sector. These giant companies come to Africa and they go to South Africa and they say, look, we have only so much to invest in gold. And we'll take our investment to places where the conditions are favorable. So if you give us favorable conditions, we'll invest in your economy. So the South Africans then say, okay, what do you want? Say, we want tax holidays. Okay, we'll give you 2 years tax holiday. Say, fine. They take the agreement they reach with the South Africans and they go to Guinea. Say, well, investment goes to places where the conditions are favorable. The South Africans are just giving us 2 years tax holiday. If you can do better than the South Africans, then we would invest our money in Guinea. Guinea say, okay, we'll give you 3 years tax holiday. They take that agreement, they go to Mali. They get 4 years. They take that agreement, they come to Ghana and so on. So you can see that we are racing to the bottom. Okay? How do we stop that? Of course, one of the prescriptions is continental unity. A continental union government which enables us to negotiate together so that they don't play our heads, against each other and so on. Look, as we speak now, gold is not a renewable natural resource. It's not renewable. Diamond is not a renewable natural resource. Oil and gas are not renewable natural resources and so on. So today, as we speak, we have all of these resources in our soils. And yet, look at the levels of poverty. And we'll be discussing that later. Look at the levels of poverty. Now just close your eyes and imagine 50 years from now.
When there are no resources.
When the resources have been taken out of our earth to Europe and other places, when we don't have those resources, what would our grandchildren and great-grandchildren suffer? Worse than our conditions today. And that is why it is important for us to begin to think. Thinking, I know, is a very difficult enterprise. But without it, we cannot move forward. These resources will not be there forever. And that is why today, we have to maximize our gains from these resources. You know, the minister is my friend, even though he doesn't want people to know that he's my friend. He's my friend. You know, the minister is my friend. I think he's done very well in the relatively short period that he's been there. I've followed some of the things that have been done by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and I'm impressed, you know. But a lot remains to be done. There's so much that that ministry needs to do, that sector needs to do. And I do hope that we are not going to be congratulating ourselves for setting up teams to go and prospect and so on. And we're going to go beyond that and take steps which enables the people of Ghana to own their own natural resources and to exploit these resources for their own benefit. That is what we ought to be doing. If we don't do that, we can have millions of tons of gold in our soil. It will mean nothing to us. The exploitation of that resource will end up fattening the bank accounts of big men and women in the metropolitan capitals. And it will not lead to fighting poverty, disease, ignorance, and so on in our own part of the world.
Right.
So we need to take control of the resource. Not just to take control of the resource, but to exploit it for the benefit of our people. Right now, the resources are embedded in our soil, but we don't own those resources. We don't own those resources. And they are not exploited for the benefit of our people. I mean, how come that Ghana, the largest producer of gold in the world, has only managed to vaccinate, give 2 doses of vaccination to only 2.7% of its population? Compare that to Cuba. My brother, compare that to Cuba. A small island country of 11 million people, and all they have is tobacco and sugarcane. They've developed 3 different vaccines. When it comes to fighting COVID-19, they've managed to achieve a certain level of independence. So, look at us. The 5th largest producer of gold in the world, 5th largest producer of gold in the world, we are borrowing at 19% interest. Does it make sense? When Japan is borrowing at less than 1% interest, and so on. So I think it's time for us to get our act together and to do the things that will liberate us from poverty, ignorance, disease, and all of them.
Well, yeah, please.
On the minister's issue, I mean, he's a young man who just took over the ministry. And because I've worked there and I follow the place, I've seen the sort of energy that he's put in. Remember, he's managing over 30, 40 years of
distraction.
of distraction. And sometimes we also talk about the politicians, but we forget about the civil servants who are there. That particular ministry, I have to be quite measured in what I say so that I don't make unfounded accusations. But I can tell you that you have to be a very strong minister to survive there. There are a lot of issues. It's not just with the gold, the mining industry. You know, that ministry deals with lands. And if you have come to lands, as for me, I'm known for talking about Kasso's issue. Where somebody can buy his land. 20, 30 years ago, I always use my father. And then he bequeaths it to his children. Gave me a plot of land. My plot of land, I built 3 times. It has been brought down 3 times by land guards. If I tell you my fight with land guards in that Kaswa area, it's not easy. My father at his age is still in court, battling to keep his land. And then you go to Lands Commission, and somebody has actually sold, I mean, the Deputy Minister of Lands and Forests, Honorable Medito, sometime told me a story where his own house, his house, where he lives in Accra, somebody went to register it.
It's not
and I don't see how it means they are so corrupt to the extent that you did not notice that it was your minister's house with his name. That's another matter. Then you come to forestry. That one, I'll put my hands on my head. Another matter. So that young man is dealing with a lot, and for me, I think he's done well. We have to help him. Then we come to the issue of, have you noticed that this gold issue, it is not the galamseying, it's not a lot in the Bunu regions. The Bunu issue is where they grow cashew.
Cashew,
If you make a mistake as a family head, and you go and give family land for gold prospecting, your own family people will do abide with me for you. They will finish you and bury you nicely. Why? Because the value that cashew gives them, there's no way they will destroy their land
for gold.
For gold. Look, you put a cashew plant here. It grows into a huge tree. Just yesterday, the cashew price was announced. It was about almost 500 cedis per bag. Now, in 5 years, that one tree can give you, sometimes, if you treat it well, 10 bags of cashew. An acre takes 40 trees. Do you understand the value that we are talking about? And the cashew can last for 40 years. Even with bushfire, unlike cocoa, cashew, even with bushfire, all you need is to go back, take good care of it. There's rain, you are plucking your fruit. So especially Bunu East, I'm saying because I have some cashew. My father bought some plants some 30 years ago. So we are growing cashew there. Look, I'll be up in arms if I see anybody in the vicinity mining. I will not stop you, and I'll get people to help me. Until we do that, when we get alternatives for the people who are mining, and now cashew is being grown by young people. I'm saying that because I've lived so long in I've come from there, so I know. You go to Bunu East regions, cashew is the young people who are doing it, and we are growing it. And there's no way we would allow you to come and mine.
You are doing it with swag.
Yes, we won't. Until we get things like that where it will bring them money. Because if per acre, I'm going to get in 5 years. You can pick over 10,000, more than 10,000 cedis per acre. And you have 10 acres. You have 15 acres.
You're very rich.
So why will I go and mine? So until we get some of these crops, some of these trees, is that it? I know in the Obuasi areas and all they are trying to get them, the ministry, through this this thing that this lady leads, the young lady, why am I forget? Carol. There's a new tree planting, how they take care of the miners in the ministry. They just launched it, I've forgotten the name, where they give them the trees to plant. We also have to focus on that thing and let them understand the value. Now I know they are doing palm. We don't know what palm oil and what palm is for us. Until we let the young people understand that the next gold is green. And take an example from those of us in the Bunu East region. They are going to face this trouble. Look, cashew is money. And if we're able to set our cashew prices right, it will be fetching us more than cocoa. So I hope the tree crop plantation corporation, or they also get their act together. I hear they don't have a board. It's been a year. Why don't they have a board?
Thank you very, very, very much. NDPC assessment of SDGs, 2.3 million Ghanaians in danger, projected to live below poverty line by 2030. Let me remind you that you can leave your messages underneath the live Facebook stream. I'll try to read some of the messages after this particular topic. So let me start with you, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, on this subject matter. 2.3 million Ghanaians in danger, projected to live below poverty line by 2030.
Well, it's sad news. We expect that as we advance after independence, we should be moving towards addressing the many, many issues that pull us back, that make us poor. And we set up the NDPC as a body, non-political body, supposed to be non-political body, that has a capacity to understand our development trends and also understand what we have and what we want to project ourselves into in the future, so they can draw a plan aligned with national yearly development policy, so that we can use that as guidelines, for development. So if the NDPC, which had been monitoring our development over the years, can now say this, then you begin to ask yourself, so what have we been doing all these years? That 2.5 million of our people into the years in 2013 are going to remain below the poverty line. And you know what it means by below the poverty line? They will earn less than $1 a day.
See if we're not even earning,
less than 60.
see if we're not even earning that already.
Yeah. Some people don't earn anything anyway. And it's a serious matter that we have this population of people. We are trying hard to create room for our education, our skill development, and still will earn us this much level of poverty. It's a poor show of who we are as a people. But it's surprising that, the person talking about it is very much aligned to government, had been a minister before, so he knows what he's talking about, and former member of parliament. I like him because of his professional approach. Even in parliament, he will say it as it used to be. If it were that the government were not doing well in parts of the policy of government, he was more aligned to the finances. So he would be able to explain, and he will be able to tell you what exactly it is. So if today we can have government people coming to say this, it's good news for us. We want to see that we admit many of our faults so we can move forward. If we fail to admit them and keep singing that we are doing well when we are doing backwardly, then it's a sad story. And that is where, when we are blamed, you will have no excuse at all. You will have nowhere else to go. You will need to admit the challenges we are facing now before we can think about how we can move forward and make any achievements. So it's a sad story about where we have come from, and
Okay.
We need to have a situation where UNDP can be a standalone organization, not influenced by anybody at all. That can help us develop a long-term policy direction. The NDC in the past tried to do a 20-year development plan. When the APP came, they shut it down. They have their own definition of a development plan. I don't think that is going to last beyond them. But this is not the good news that we are looking for. We want to have a situation where we can have a national policy in where we want to go. If we want to make sure we channel our development along making gold the driver of our nation, our economy, no government would see it differently. They would see it along that line. But then your detailed policy on yearly budgets or yearly policy direction can change. But the idea of making the extractive industry lead the development should be there as a definition and as a policy area. So NDPC can do that, so that we can all, focus on it as a way out in our focus into development. But for the meantime,
okay,
it's sad news.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me read a few messages on Facebook. Felicitas Wakaria says, praise and thank God, people of Volta and Oti region can now be involved in mining of gold to develop and upgrade their livelihoods. Michael Julian Walter says, this segment should not only be discussed here on Pan-African television, but on many television stations in Ghana. Good morning, Kwame. I work with an NGO that does researches into mining. It's the politicians who sit in Accra and give the lands to companies to mine and destroy the cocoa farms and give farmers peanuts. Both the NDC and the MPP are to blame. Raj Afo says, good morning to you, KOD. It is time for us to rise to the majestic height and ask ourselves critical questions. If what it is happening in Rwanda cannot be replicated in Ghana. Nkrumah founded this country based on principles and ideologies, and our political leaders recognize that. It is very sad that poverty has become an industry and business venture for some political leaders in this country, and until we begin to push good people into governance, these imperialists will take over this country again. Nana Ajua Chenibwa from Accra says, good morning to you. This year's MPP Delegates Congress to be held in Kumasi is going to be very exclusive and peaceful. We urge all attendees to adhere to COVID-19 rules. Greetings to hard-working Agric Minister Honorable Efriye Akoto, the legend. I see what you're doing here. It's good, not bad. Akashambatwa Imbikusita Lewanika, I hope I got the name right, from South Africa, says, give us the names of the discussants. I want to follow them. I'm watching from Barotseland in Southern Africa. Thank you. Michael Julian Walters says, you want to blame us on taking it? Okay, because of royalties he receives and Akan elites for exploiting their lands, that's not benefiting their people. Don Koblankson says, Ghana is supposed to be one of the richest countries in Africa, but our leaders have just decided to be wicked. They are managing all the properties and mineral resources that is meant for the future generations. Monetizing, you mean? Or what did you say? Mortgaging. Oh, okay, it's mortgaging. So what are we saying? We would all travel outside to seek for greener pastures. Good morning to your family. I really like the woman you have in the studio. Her name is Ellen. Uncle Chrissy Pride is always a gem. Congratulations to you, Kwame, Owusu, Danso. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Ellen, let me come to you on this 2.5 million. But what is interesting here is one paragraph which tries to create, if you will, a segment of the Ghanaian people who are going to be suffering from these projections. The report says 6 regions, namely Western, Central, Greater Accra, Eastern, Ashanti, and then Bro and Hafo, were to achieve the target of halving poverty line by the same 2030, while concerted efforts were required to ensure that voter Northern, Upper East, and Upper West regions meet the targeted national poverty line. And then if you jump from there to the last paragraph, it says, however, the report explained that in absolute terms, the total number of the poor increased by about 400,000 as of 2017, representing 25.8% poor males and 17.6% females. Regions, and then the number of increment.
The regions he mentioned, I was talking about cashew.
Absolutely.
In the Bona Hafo region. So I'm not surprised that the report is saying that the Bona Hafo regions, and I talk about that because that's where I work and that's where I come from. So that we would be able to meet the poverty lines. Because, as I said, cashew, there are NGOs that are promoting for even the women. And that's also how come, if you realize by the report, the men are becoming poorer than the women. Because, a young girl in Wenchi, for instance, and Wenchi is where Prof comes from, by the way. And good morning, Prof. He's one of my fathers. I worked for him, and I worked with him in the Wenchi constituency, even though we lost painfully to the NDC. But Prof is right. A young lady there can have just 1 acre of cashew, and that is enough to take her out of this poverty line. Now you go to the other regions that they mentioned. What exactly are we doing for them? Over the years, a lot of things have been targeted at women, because we realized that the women did not have the economic, the prowess or the ability to make money. But those efforts are what we are seeing. The benefits of those efforts are what we are seeing. And now that the things are changing.
Yep.
It looks like the men are rather now becoming poorer. What is it? I think we should look into the reasons. For me, now, I think I will blame the fact that our systems are changing. The fact that the world is changing. Unfortunately, the male species, you find change quite difficult. And we, and especially Ghanaian women, we know we can adapt very quickly. What am I saying? And now the jobs that the men used to go to. You know, you get up, you have a job with the district assembly, you have a job at the ministry, you know you're going into an office. Everything is changing. So a lot more men are becoming unemployed. And now they have to fall on the women who were doing the unconventional things. The women who are having the shops in the front of the houses, the women who were selling the markets. And now we are moving. We've gone e-markets. We are now selling
online,
on social media and online.
Yeah.
And a lot of these online companies are owned by women.
Absolutely.
You'll be shocked to see this young girl sitting in her small single room and you think she's not working. She's working. I mean, she sells goods. And so you realize that she'll package it.
Delivery.
A motorbike will come for it and then it is delivered. Convenience. But our young men and our men are not getting into those businesses. You still think that you have to work in the bank. And these are things we have to tell them. That the world is changing. And very soon, if you continue like this, your sisters and your wives are going to be richer than you. And look at it. A lot of young women are also having, not even young women, they have 2, 3, 4, 5 streams of income.
Yeah, that's true.
So she might be working professional or cooperatively in an office, but she has a delivery company. She has a shop running somewhere. We have to start teaching those entrepreneurial skills to our sons and letting them know that the traditional jobs are changing. Then we talk about poverty. It still does not take away from the fact that when you go into our rural areas, our women are still poor. And now the men are joining us. I look at it in the sense of, I don't know, it's $6. That's why we look at it. But when you multiply $6 by 30 days, how many Ghanaians even make $6 a day? How many? 6 cedis, sorry. Yeah. How many Ghanaians make 6 cedis in a day? That is $1. How many? And then when you come down to the urban areas, what I see a lot is urban poverty. So you might be living in Accra. You might have all the amenities. But there are people in Accra
so poor,
who cannot feed themselves. There are people in Accra who, when their rent is coming, it is a headache. Because if you don't take care, you end up on the streets with your children. What are the social services? And for that, I'll come to the Ministry of Gender. I think I have to make this admission. As much as I hate making it, I think we haven't done too well in that ministry as a party. Right now, the caretaker minister, Auntie Cecilia is doing her best. But this is a ministry that is supposed to take care of the vulnerable in our society.
I'm telling you.
So let me ask you a question. So tomorrow morning, even let's take ourselves, me. Let me go and use anybody for offense. Something happens. I don't have a job again. I'm not making an income. Where do I go to at least pick up something for myself and my children for the time that I'll be out of a job? Why don't we have that system? Where people who have worked, they have paid their SNIT, they have paid their taxes, and they go into, crisis. Why can't I have some little of my SNIT money back to take off myself and go back? We don't have all those systems. Just last week, the Ministry of Gender went to, they went to pick up all those children from the streets, the street beggars. The next day, they were there.
Of course.
So all these little things. For me, I think that ministry, we should look at it again. Not as a government, but as a people.
Yeah.
maybe name it differently.
They should have a focus, really.
It should have a focus, as you said. If it's when you mention the gender and everybody thinks it's women, it is not a women ministry's affair. It is for gender, and gender means you and me, male and female, and our children. We should look at it again, seriously, as a country. Refocus, so that these people who are falling in, they had to. I mean, the ministry has to go to the Prof's place, NDPC, National Development,
Planning
pick it
Commission,
up. What help do we need? And let's do it, because it is sad. We are breeding criminals on the streets. Go to the Jolu,
Fiesta Royal
traffic light. Over the years, those young men there have grown on the streets, and now they are attacking motorists.
Oh yeah. They sell all manner of things.
They are attacking motorists. We have to find a solution to this. We cannot have free basic education, free SHS, and have children working on the street. We have to find a way of getting all these children into the system, because these are the people who are going to rob you in your Chado and East Legon residence. Every morning you put your children in a car, you are sending them to school, and they are seeing you. That is some of us are fear. We as a society, we have to come together and see what we are doing with this ministry of gender. We have to. And this is not an NDC and MPP matter. I believe our leadership, I mean the effort we are putting into this LGBTQWX matter. Why can't we put in that same effort into getting our social services right? Why?
Even the pension schemes and things like
that. And as for me, I have a problem with SNIT. And when I'm paying SNIT, I am pained. My parents, both parents paid SNIT. My mother worked all her life. She started working when she was about 25 years at a university. My mother died 2 years to her pension. You know that we got her gratuity for over 40 years of paying SNIT was less than 100,000 Ghana cedis. She started off as a teacher.
Wow.
And she didn't enjoy anything, no. She died at 58. My father is still alive. He went on pension. And as we speak, somebody who retired as a manager with ADB, his pension is less than 700 cedis. So if he hadn't made other investments, at 73, who was going to take care of him? And he is a manager. So those who retired as the security personnel, what are they getting? We have to look at SNIT, and then you see SNIT making useless investments with our money, and we are all comfortable. We are looking at them, but by law you have to pay. And so I pay SNIT for 20 years. Something happens to me, I get sick, and what happens? What happens to the money? I can't go for some to take care of myself. I have to wait till I am 60. I have to wait till I'm 60 years before I get access to my money. I mean, all these things, it's the young people of this country. You look at all this and then you go like, sometimes you go like, is it worth it? But it is worth it. We don't have anywhere else to go. We have to stay here. So issues like SNIT, because we are talking about poverty, we are thinking about those in the villages. There are people sitting right here in Accra who, when these banks went down, people who have paid taxes all these years, were they able to access some of their monies to do things? When your business goes down, the people who pay the taxes, the workers, what are they doing with themselves? The unions. And then I talk about NAGRAT and their laptop issues. I mean, everybody is just trying to take advantage of the poor Ghanaian. And it is sad. It is terrible. If we want to get a better society where we are not breeding people who are resentful and they can see that somebody is enjoying, I am not enjoying some. If we do not build a society that at least gives equal opportunities, we are going to have a situation where you cannot enjoy that your money.
You can have the money, but cannot enjoy it. Thank you very much, Ellen. Brilliant submission. Love it. JK says, let's Ghana focus on farming and forget about mining. Hunger will kill us some days to come. Yeah. Monday, William Jikunu, please let me use your medium to advise those in the Volta region and Oti region that they should stop jubilating, because mining can curse a community. Where they mine, they will destroy the environment and bring soldiers and police to protect them. Niba Danyong says, I admire this woman from a distance and she has inspired me a lot. I wish to meet her one day. Please greet her for me.
Tell him to get his money ready. I'm coming for it for campaign.
Dennis Y. Akwete, I perfectly agree with Uncle Pratt that we need to think of solving our problems, especially relative to the kind of shares Mother Ghana gets in our resources exploited. However, the inability of our leaders to think, as far as I'm concerned, is self-imposed for selfish reasons, and regrettable is res ipsa locutor, for even the blind to see. Just dig into the archives and you would find how excellent our two major political parties can be whilst in opposition. Quite lengthy. I cannot finish reading that. Ziku Izzy says, Kwame, I feel the woman rough with their presentation. Ayim Albe says, Ibrahim, boss, you are doing well with Pan-African television. Eddie Whittle, Regima. Wow, do we still have such women in this country? Mother Ghana is blessed. All right. Hamdatu, Hadia Hamdatu Haruna Ibrahim. Good morning to you from Bolgai. Salute my brother Sheikh Yusuf Umar, the new deputy imam of Upper East Region. Messages are pouring in, but I need to go to Mr. Pratt now. I will try and read the rest later, please.
Well, I don't know what to make of the report, because it's obviously the figures are obviously contradicting other figures also issued by government agencies, and I'm totally lost. 2 days ago, Graphic reported that 3.5 million Ghanaians faced hunger. 3 days ago. That came from the Statistical Service. Now today, NDPC is telling us that 2.3 million people would face or will live below the poverty line
by 2030.
In 8 years. These figures don't add up. Something is wrong. You cannot have 3.5 million people facing hunger, unable to provide food for themselves, with only 2.3 million people likely in 8 years to live below the poverty line. It doesn't add up. The fact is that, put the statistics aside, we know that the people of this country today are living in very, very dire consequences. Just imagine the married man with 2 children who earns 500 cedis a month, and there are so many of them. How do they survive? That's the question, before us. Go to the villages and see the villagers who drink from the same ponds with cows and goats. That's our reality. Our reality is that today, only a few kilometers outside Accra, people are living in the Stone Age. The blender we use in our houses to blend vegetables and so on, for some people don't earn enough to pay for the cost of their transportation to and from work. That's the reality. You understand? The reality is that we have only 700,000 workers in the public sector. The whole public sector, 700,000 workers.
Out of over 30 million people.
Out of 30 million people. The reality is that this 700,000 people spend, for their emoluments, they spend close to 70% of total national revenue. That's our reality. Our reality is that we are spending 128 30% of total national revenue on two line items, debt servicing and public sector emoluments. That's our reality. Our reality is that yesterday the statistical service and we need to get out of it as quickly as possible. And we cannot get out of it now that if you go to Parliament, you have 137, and everybody is trying to play, tough. You can't get out of this reality with that situation. You understand? So, it's okay for now.
Right. Thank you. It's okay for now. My time is almost up. Let me just read a few messages and then we can get out of here. This one says, I'm surprised with Ellen's submission in respect of the SNIT issue. If the politicians bring their children to be working in SNIT and they take fat salaries, which money would they use to pay us? Okay.
By one person.
Okanse Absalom says, Okanse says, good morning to you. I'm enjoying the program and I would like to contact Ellen for an inquiry in cashew farming. Can she give me an idea? Okanse from Kaswa. You've left your number.
A message on my Facebook.
On Facebook, yes.
My name, Ellen Amadeko.
Yes, Ellen Amadeko on Facebook. Yes. Just connect with her and then.
Send me a message.
Okay. I think my time is up. Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Rashid Pelpo. Ellen is hoping to become the women's organizer for the MPP. Brilliant submissions on the show, superior arguments. I loved it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
That Alaji and Alaji has no size. It has become the most popular talk show in this country and has reigned for more than 10 years. Next week, 18th of December, we will take the program to another level. On the premises of Pan-African Television, we invite all of our patrons and general public to participate directly in Alaji and Alaji. Come, listen to the various contributors and make your own comment.